Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jenny. Today's video is going to be my eyeshadow palette tag. I have watched a handful of these videos and thought that they looked really fun. The two that come to mind are Jessica Braun as well as Jen from Beauty Riot X. I will link both of their videos down below. And actually, I got the list from Jen's video and she and Jessica both added a handful of questions. So I will go ahead and do those as well. I couldn't think of anything to add, so I am just going to do the questions that already exist in her description. I will add the tag categories in my description box down below in case you want to do it as well. But we are going to go ahead and jump right in. First category is your newest palette, and that would be the Juvia's Place Nomad palette. It is what I have on my eyes today, and I did use almost every single color in the palette. This is what it looks like. It's absolutely stunning. It has this really cool, like grungy, like army green kind of color story. I used all of the shades except for this shimmer over here. And I do just want to give Juvia's Place a shout out because it is a excellent black owned beauty brand. I have a lot of their palettes. I probably have like 8 or 9 of their eyeshadow palettes, and their eyeshadow formula is absolutely phenomenal. It's truly amazing, and all of the pigmentations are great. They blend beautifully. I really enjoy Juvia's Place as a whole, and I wanted to give them a shout out. Unfortunately, I have not tried a lot of other black owned beauty brands. I am trying to kind of branch out and look into those more, but I did want to give them a shout out because I do have a lot of experience with Juvia's Place and they are amazing. Next category is your oldest palette, and I could not remember what my oldest palette was, but I'm 99% sure it is this one, and I don't even know what it is called, but it's by Urban Decay. It does not have a name on it. It is just this silver little palette with a skull on it. I've had this since probably 2014 maybe. This is what it looks like on the inside. It comes with a brush, and then it is an all shimmer palette. I did get this on sale at Sephora, and that is the only reason I got it. I'm not sure why I hang on to it. The shadows are beautiful and they still perform really well, but I never reach for an all shimmer palette. But like these over here, these purples and these browns are stunning. I think that's why I hang on to them, because they are really beautiful. But this is definitely the oldest palette, and for it to be as old as it is, the quality is still really good. My most expensive eyeshadow palette is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. It is very beautiful. It was $65. I think this is my most expensive. I think this is my most expensive palette because I think the Besame Princess palettes, I think those were like $60, maybe $58. I don't think they were more expensive than this, but this is a very expensive eyeshadow palette. It is one of her cheaper palettes, if you can believe that, at $65. The quality is nice. I had heard so many amazing things about Natasha Denona that I really wanted to try this. That's why I paid the price for this. And then when I got it, the quality is fine. It's good quality. It blends, they apply well. But so do my ColourPop eyeshadows, and those palettes are never $65. So if you wanted to buy a higher end, like bougie palette, then this would be a good way to go without spending $120 to like $250 for her eyeshadow palettes. But at the same time, if you don't have that money, don't feel like you need to buy this palette. Go ahead and get ColourPop, Juvia's Place, like the cheaper alternatives that are still really good quality. My least expensive palette is a Wet n Wild palette. This is the Comfort Zone palette from them. This is the newer one that has the 2 mattes. The old one that first came out only had these shimmers here in the center. I really like the addition of these mattes. This one is a really interesting, like rosy brown color. Really beautiful. I believe on Ulta it's like $5.99, but I think at my local Walmart I got it for like $4.99-ish. It was cheaper than the $5.99, but still $5.99 is very affordable. So this category was kind of hard because it's my everyday eyeshadow palette. I don't really have an everyday palette that I use all the time because I have so many that I like to just like, you know, keep them in a rotation. I just grab whatever I'm feeling that day. But for me, I feel like this is probably my most everyday, the one that I've used like a lot. And this is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill, the first one, collaboration palette. I think it's really great because it has a lot of really nice neutrals. It is definitely more warm leaning, and then it has these nicer pops of color up in here if you wanted to play around with color. I think it's just a really nice, well-rounded, everyday palette. Next is my most colorful eyeshadow palette, and that is the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palette. I don't talk about this on my channel because it has been discontinued. It was a limited edition holiday palette. in like 2015 or 16, I think. So I don't like to use it because I know you can no longer get your hands on it. This is what it looks like on the inside. It is absolutely beautiful with the bigger wheel of color and then the smaller wheel of neutrals. These purples and pinks are really, really beautiful. Of course, all of the blues and greens, they blend really well as well. It would be really cool now that Kat Von D is no longer associated with the brand if they could do something similar to this. I know that this is like her original artwork, but maybe if they could like do a revamped version, I think that would be really cool. Next is your smallest palette, and for me that is the Urban Decay Naked 2 Basics, if I can get it open. It does have just 6 small little all matte shadows. This is nice if you're in the market for a small, like travel friendly, all matte, cooler leaning palette, because these are definitely cooler leaning, and then like these two right here could probably be considered neutral, but of course these are all very cool. I get a really, really pretty all matte looks when I use this palette. I honestly don't know if this is available anymore, but they've like been doing so many new naked palettes and they took away the first one, so I don't know if this is available or not, but if it is, this is definitely a good quality little cool tone palette. Next is my biggest palette, and that would definitely be the Morphe Dare to Create palette. This is gigantic, very large. I honestly didn't think this palette was this big when I ordered it. When I ordered this palette, I thought that these bigger shades here in the middle were like this size, like a normal pan, and then these were like the smaller, like the ColourPop shadow type size. So think of the smaller James Charles palette is what I thought this was going to be, and then it came in and it's as big as like my laptop. I was very surprised. It is a really nice palette. The quality is really good. This is a really nice palette overall. My only gripe is that there are a ton of repeat shadows in here, and there are no like light highlight shades. There's no light matte shades. Like this is probably the lightest shade, these two here in the palette. Like these two are super similar. These are all similar. These are similar, too similar to be there. I mean, there's just so many repeat shades in here, things that are way too close to be like in here. Setting that aside though, the quality of this is really, really nice. If you are looking for a really big palette, maybe you're starting like makeup artistry, you're gonna like do people's makeup, this would be good to have on hand for that. Next category is palette with the best memory. I didn't have a lot of these, so I did just go with this one, and this is the e.l.f. The New Classics eyeshadow palette. This one has a good memory because this is the eyeshadow palette that I used on my wedding day. I did do my own makeup. I have filmed that video. I don't know if it's coming up before or after this one. If it is already up, I will link it down in the description as well in the eye. I really think the quality of this is really, really great. It lasted all day for the day of my wedding, and it looked really beautiful all day long. And it was only $14-ish, I think, at my local Walmart, and the quality is really, really great. It does have a nice mix of like neutral as well as some like pops of like this greenish gold. There's some pinks in here, some mauve tones. Overall, I think it's a really nice neutral palette that you can easily get at the drugstore. A palette that is worth the hype to me is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Unfortunately, this is no longer available. This was limited edition for holidays last year, but this palette is one of the most beautiful palettes I have in my collection. The quality is fantastic. These shimmers are like to die for. They are so high impact. They're beautiful. This also can kind of go into one of the later categories, which is like your favorite limited edition palette. This would definitely be there. I didn't want to have like a repeat, so I did pick something else, but this could qualify for that category as well. They need to bring this one back without the glittery packaging. Other people say that they don't have issues with the glitter packaging, which is of course beautiful, but for me it's like all over my fingers right now, and I just don't like that. I do like the glitter packaging better than their weird velvet packaging because you can wipe this one off way easier and it doesn't look as dingy. But overall, this palette is absolutely phenomenal, and I really hope that they bring it back. Okay, so next category is palette that's not worth the hype. And this is a palette I've already talked about. It is the Natasha Denona palette, and it's just because the price is ridiculous. The quality is good, and I enjoy it, and I think I get really pretty looks out of it. But as a whole, I can do that with all of my ColourPop palettes. I can do that with that Wet n Wild palette. I can get good looks with like dirt cheap eyeshadows. You don't have to have expensive eyeshadow to do a really beautiful look. And while this palette is really great and I enjoy it, it's just not, Natasha Denona, in my opinion, after trying this palette, is not worth the hype to me. I cannot justify buying another palette of this price range or any of her higher ones unless the color story is literally like impeccable. There was one that she came out with recently that I thought was beautiful, but if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna wait till it's on sale. I cannot justify a price tag like this. In my opinion, Natasha Denona is a little overrated. So the next category is your favorite palette from your favorite brand. And I don't really know that I have a favorite brand that I like follow religiously and like constantly want to buy their stuff. But the first thing that came to mind is ColourPop, just because I really do like ColourPop as a brand, and I think they're good for the price as well. I don't think they're too overpriced for the product that you're getting, because you're getting good quality. And so my favorite item from that brand is the So Jaded palette in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's just a really beautiful palette that has a lot of different things happening. You can get some neutral looks out of this, but you can also get some really beautiful, colorful looks as well. And then you can like mix and match. You can make a look that's kind of similar here where it's a little bit neutral but also a little bit green. You can get so many different things out of here. There's so many different textures and like colors that it's just a beautiful, well-rounded palette, and I highly recommend this one. Next category is most used eyeshadow palette, and then this is a palette that I have also talked about already, and this is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. I do get a lot of use out of this because, like I said, it is that like everyday kind of palette. I can open this palette and I can just do a look. It doesn't matter. I don't have to think about it. I can just dip my brush into a shade, and every look I get like with this palette comes out really pretty. So this is the palette, honestly, one of the palettes I use the most. I do have lots of palettes I use a lot, obviously, but I can think of like 6 or 7 instances where I used this and got compliments. So I am just gonna go ahead and pick this one for this category. So the next 2 questions are the ones that Jessica Braun created. And the first one is, what palette do you think is underrated? I couldn't think of a palette that I had in my collection that I thought was underrated, so I'm gonna skip this one. And then the next one is my favorite limited edition palette. And for this, of course, I've already talked about the Sultry palette that can be included into this category, but the one that I chose other than that was the Morphe and Kathleen Lights collaboration. I remember when this came out, here, this is what it looks like. Very beautiful. When this came out, it had like 0 hype, and it was there for like 3 days, and then it was gone, and they never talked about it. And this palette is absolutely beautiful. It has some nice golds and some rosy tones and these really cool greens over here that layer really beautifully. I never saw anyone talk about this, not once. I mean, I saw Kathleen's video when she talked about it, but other than that, no one did reviews that I saw, no one talked about it. And this palette was beautiful, and they should totally bring it back. I think it's a really great quality palette. So the next 2 questions are from Jen from Beauty Riot X, and the first one is a palette that I did not want to love. Again, I don't have a palette that I bought thinking I wasn't gonna love it and then did, so I don't have anything for that category. And then the last question is the best palette from an indie brand. Now, I could sit here and show you all of my Juvia's Place palettes. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. So you saw the Nomad palette, which is, again, what I have on my eyes today. So like I said, I had like 9. I totally only have 5, but whatever. So the next one is the Nubian palette. This is my least favorite of them just because this one is very neutral, but it is still really, really great quality. We have the Saharan, which is absolutely stunning. The Saharan 2, which I think is probably my favorite palette from Juvia's Place that I personally have. This one's absolutely gorgeous. This bluish, tealish green shade, to die for. And then the last one I have from them is the Warrior 2, which is all matte, really nice, warmer, neutral shades. So I think of these, I love all of them, of course. And Juvia's Place is an indie brand. The Saharan 2 is probably my favorite. I've gotten a lot of use out of this one, more than the others in my collection. Of course, I can't say anything about Nomad because I literally bought it like 3 days ago. I also want to mention Makeup Geek because Makeup Geek was the first indie brand that I bought from. And I do have a lot of eyeshadows. I just want to show, I'm not going to tell you the names of them or anything. And these are the old formulation before they did the rebrand and everything. But so this is my neutral palette that I made myself. This is my colorful palette. And then I just have this other Makeup Geek branded Z palette type palette, and then these are just my overflow shadows that I have from them. I have a couple of the little palettes that they had, and I have face products from them. They're the indie brand that I have the most from, but as far as like palettes, I wanted to talk about Juvia's Place because I do have those. I did want to talk about Juvia's Place and Makeup Geek specifically because I do love them and I think they're fantastic. So that was my eyeshadow palette tag. Like I mentioned, I will have all of these questions listed down in my description box. I also have lots of reviews up on my channel. I think I have a review for almost all of these palettes, and if I do, I will link those down in the description as well. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to subscribe, please feel free, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.